Hey everyone, my name's Morgan and welcome to Humble Homes channel, the place where I talk about practical minimalism and tips for living a more organized life. Today I'm going to be talking about what practical minimalism means to me and why I use that term instead of just using simply minimalism. So let's just jump right in. So first, a little backstory about me. I've always been someone who's loved creating spaces and making a house really feel like a home, using color and texture and design and all those things. But I never really considered myself a super tidy person. I definitely struggled with keeping sentimental items that I felt like I should keep, things that I didn't really want but I didn't quite know what to do with. Then back in 2015-ish, I read Marie Kondo's book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and I always joke with people and say, I'm not kidding, it really was life-changing. For me, it was really that missing puzzle piece that kind of completed all of my thoughts about how I think of home and how to help people think about their homes. Since then, I've read other books, listened to podcasts, watched movies, all about this idea of stuff and living with less, and how that improves mental well-being and how it can bleed out into other aspects of our homes and lives. So today I'm gonna give you my guiding principles that I think of with regards to practical minimalism, and then I'm gonna share what practical minimalism isn't. My first guiding principle is surrounding yourself with items that really lift you up and bring your house and yourself and your family energy. For me, this is just a different way of phrasing Marie Kondo's idea of keeping items that spark joy. The second principle, which really goes hand in hand with the first, is letting go of sentimental items that aren't serving you and unused or unneeded items. We can really struggle with getting rid of items that we think we may need in the future. I think we worry, what if we get rid of it? How are we going to replace it? Or, it's gonna be like a loss of money if we do need to replace it. And I always say to my clients, think creatively about this. Think about, okay, if there's an item that you haven't used in years, say it's a camping tent, and you haven't gone camping in years, that's just something you haven't done, but you're keeping it because of this idea that you will go camping in the future, and what if you don't have your tent anymore? What are you gonna do? Well, you probably have a friend that has a tent you can borrow. So that's just one example of using your resources, your connections to get creative and not worry about not having that item. The third guiding principle is all about gaining awareness of your own personal style, awareness of your home decor style, and really what you love and need. If you were thinking about it with regards to your clothes, your clothing wardrobe, this is really just refining what you feel good in, what you feel confident in, and the materials you love to wear, but also the color palette. So for example, if you're out shopping, you don't have to guess with certain items. I feel like for a really long time, I just took a chance on things and thought, well, it's not something I have in my wardrobe, maybe it'll work, maybe I'll like it, even if I was like kind of on the fence. And then of course that item just ended up sitting there in my drawer or closet, not being worn, and it eventually went on to the thrift store. So in recent years, I've really honed in on my clothing palette, which I'll make a whole separate video about. I'm all about the palette, but also what materials I like to wear. I know for me, I'm not a wool person. I just struggle with, hand washing and trying to really take good care of them. And so I know for me, I'm a cotton girl through and through. I don't really like acrylic because it's kind of scratchy, and I prefer natural fibers. So that's just one example of how really honing in on your wants and desires can be super helpful in making future purchases. The fourth guiding principle that I really like to go off of is thinking long-term about an item's use. Is this something that's going to last the test of time, or is it just kind of a trendy item that's going to go out of style, or I'm really not going to like or want in a year? This ties into the idea of spending your money wisely and purchasing items that are high quality and are going to last. But that doesn't necessarily mean that if you have a smaller budget, this aspect of the guiding principles is unattainable. I found secondhand purchases, especially furniture, older furniture that's made of solid wood, you can find Facebook Marketplace. If you have a Buy Nothing page, which is an awesome resource, to your community if you have one, and even just the thrift store or vintage shop. Our bedroom has a couple really great mid-century modern pieces that we bought at a fraction of the price for something with a similar style that you could purchase new now, say from West Elm or Article, and we absolutely love it. Sure, there's a couple scratches here or there, but honestly, we have 4 cats and a dog. I'm not worried about it. So then what isn't practical minimalism? Practical minimalism for me is not an aesthetic. It is not the aesthetic of minimalism that you would think of if you walked into someone's house and they had a beautiful, airy, white wall, neutral tone space. That's not what I'm talking about here. Although I can really appreciate that design aesthetic. It's not me, and so our house doesn't look like that. I have our bedroom, which is a deep, dark hunter green. Most of the rest of our house is like a light millennial pink that I'm obsessed with. And so I really encourage you, if you are wanting to dive into this world of minimalism, to really think beyond the aesthetic, because if it's purely a surface level thing for you, then that's gonna just turn into a trend. Recently on different trend boards and places like Apartment Therapy, I've seen minimalism is on its way out, maximalism is on its way in, and that's totally missing the point of what minimalism is, for me at least, and for a lot of people. Hence why my viewpoint is calling it practical minimalism. It's skipping that surface level reasoning and really diving into the heart of what this movement and way of living is all about. One thing I truly believe is that practical minimalism is for everybody in any stage of their decluttering journey. I still refer back to these guiding principles frequently, and even though I am a professional organizer and someone who teaches this to others, it's still something that I find relevant and will always get re-inspired by. Okay, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.